show.
There you go.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Real Country Jukebox Podcast. It's a beautiful Thursday afternoon. We've got a topic today that's just a little more less in depth as some of the latest ones we've done. But I mean, I guess you could take it wherever you want to. But today's topic is just, it's a nice day, feel-good songs. Just songs that make you feel good. It can be about anything. Everybody likes a feel-good song more than a sad song. So we're going to talk about some feel-good songs. I got 10, he's got 10, and we're going to count them down and just have a good time with it.
Yeah, the way we decided to do it, we chose our top 10 feel-good songs, and we ordered them. I mean, we put them in order from 10th to 1st, like normal, as to which one's our favorite. But we kind of wanted to save this topic for when the weather's finally broke. Even though it's summer, it's been kind of cold and just rainy every day, off and on. So we finally got a nice warm day, and the sun's out finally. So we'll kick it off. Do you want me to start?
Yeah, you can. That's fine.
Number 10, I got Loco by David Lee Murphy. I felt like this song was perfect. It reminds me a lot of myself, really. And I like kind of what he's talking about. Like, basically, you don't have to go anywhere to have a good time. And, you know, it can all be done right there at home. Although I do like to go places. You know, and just the part in the chorus about, you know, just, it's basically just having a good time. And I like it. The album came out at a good time for him, too, because he hadn't had nothing in, at that time, about 6 years or so. And
Definitely a dry spell for him.
And
yeah.
I thought it was a strong album from start to finish.
Yeah, I got it.
I was in high school when I bought it, and I liked every song up there.
Yeah. He didn't miss a beat during that time.
No.
Number 10 for me, I've got Feels Like Love by Vince Gill. Not quite to the time off that David Lee Murphy had, but Vince Gill, as far as chart-wise at that time, you know, 80s and 90s, he didn't really take a lot of time off. He was pretty steady. But this song came at a time where, you know, Vince had done a lot of serious stuff. Just about everything he put out was serious. And then about 1999, 2000, whenever it was he married Amy Grant, he came out with this song, Feels Like Love. And it talks a whole lot about, I'm glad I got my chance at this. I'm glad I got my chance at this. I'm glad I got my chance at love, or, you know, whatnot. And he has got Amy Grant in the video. To my knowledge, it's the only video that Amy Grant's in with. And they're cutting up. They're having a good time. You can tell they're newlyweds. So I always thought that was a good upbeat song with a nice little piano beginning. Feels Like Love by Vince Gill.
That is a good one. And you know what I was thinking, and we kind of went over this, if there's some artists, and Kenny Chesney's a big one, that we could literally just like basically gave you any Kenny Chesney album and it would be feel good songs. But as far as my list goes, I'm trying to stick with one song per artist. I do have, one artist has 2 songs, but for the most part it's one song per artist is how I did. My number 9 is No One Needs to Know by Shania Twain. And that is by a woman, and it's through a woman's perspective, but it's just a light and airy song. And really, for her, you know, most of her videos and stuff, she was one of the first ones to kind of start to cross over into pop. And this song to me is pretty country.
I think so too.
And another thing too, like, she was pretty dialed up in a lot of her videos. This video, she's kind of simple on the front porch play, and I can appreciate that of someone that is as beautiful as she is and has the videos and songs that she does to put out something so simple,
right,
and so country after some of those other ones that she had done, and before she basically went full pop.
Yeah, I agree. It was kind of stripped down too. Like you said, she'd done a lot of that high energy stuff and real electric stuff and all that sort of stuff, and then she really toned it down for that one. For the longest time, that was my favorite Shania song.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I really like that one a lot. That was probably my favorite till Forever and For Always came out.
Okay. So, yeah, I like that one too.
Yeah, just very simple acoustic guitar sitting there, like you said, low key.
Yeah.
That's a good one. My number 9 is, I call her a boss because everything she does is just amazing, is Miranda Lambert. New Strings. I got this old guitar and a brand new set of strings. It's on her first album. Not as popular as the other 99.9% of her stuff. And as far as I know, wasn't a radio release, but just it's just a feel-good early Miranda Lambert. New Strings is the name of it. Check it out.
Oh, yeah. Number 8 for me is Must Be Living Right by Rhett Akins. And everything about that song to me relates to my life, like just like when we get done with this podcast.
I was just thinking that.
I mean, and to be honest with you, every time I hear that song, I can't help but think about being with my buddies and my wife and my son at the Wood Ducks game. You know,
that's where we're going tonight.
Yeah, and sitting in the nosebleeds working on a sunburn, you know.
We're going to get that.
Yeah, and even the second verse, you know, something that me and my wife used to do all the time when we first started dating. And as, you know, time works on you and, you know, you get involved in other things, you don't do it as often, which is go fishing. You know, they had that in that song too, you know, just about simple sitting on a creek bank, you know. So to me, that whole song is it's just a feel good song 100%. And you know, that's about all I have for that, but it is a good one.
Okay. Number 8 for me is Clay Walker. He's going to show up a couple times on here because he's got some feel good songs. Clay Walker, Live Until I Die. Just reminds me of my childhood. It'll remind you of your childhood if you grew up in the country at all, but skipping rock, skipping rope, laughing at all my best friends' jokes. Don't want to think about tomorrow, just live until I die, have a good time, be in the moment. Love how the twin fiddle started out that song. I wish we had more of that. But Clay Walker had a lot of feel-good stuff, especially those first 2 albums. So Live Until I Die just reminds me of growing up and being a kid.
Oh, yeah. My next one is Where the Green Grass Grows by Tim McGraw. And now
that was on my preliminary list.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I want to say something about Tim McGraw that I will not bash anyone on this podcast. Yeah. I will state facts, though. And the facts is, in the last 15 years, his music just hasn't been that great. However, prior to that, Tim McGraw's best stuff is some of the best in country music, period.
I agree.
And Where the Green Grass Grows is... I chose that one. It's not my favorite Tim McGraw song, but I relate to the song so much. I used to travel a lot and for work, and it would put me living in big cities for sometimes, you know, 6 to 9 months. And even though I enjoyed it and I had a good time and met a lot of friends, truth is, whether you're in Dallas and stuck behind cars at 6 lanes or in Oklahoma City and stuck behind combines and F-350s, it's still 6 lanes. You're still backed up. You're ready to get home.
It's still a lot of fun.
Yeah, but I just, you know, I love the song, and to that story, at the end of those contracts, I was able to come back to my home in East North Carolina and be surrounded by my corn popping up and rose. You know what I mean?
Beautiful sight.
Yeah, and the only people I see is I have to make an initiative to go see them because I don't have any right by my house. And it's a big difference, and that's why I prefer, like, the way that the song's written. And not to bring her up too often, but one of the best versions I've ever heard was Haley's live version at the Red Hat.
Man, I had forgotten about that already.
I can't forget that.
Oh, she knocked that out of the park.
You ain't lying. I mean, that was so good, man. So anyway, yeah, Where the Green Grass Grows is such a good song.
And we're going to plug her a lot. Haley Withers is great. Matter of fact, I'll tell you what. Y'all listen to Haley Withers. If you don't like her, if you buy her music, I tell you what, if you buy her music and you don't like it, I'll pay you back for it. That's the deal. I'll pay you back for it.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. Number 7 for me is, and you don't get this name a whole lot, man, but Phil Vassar. Phil Vassar came out of the gate with Carlene. Not to be confused with Darlene. It's not T. Graham Brown. But Carlene. It was a song, basically, the one he came out the gate with. Now, he had written stuff for Tim McGraw and Jody Messina and a bunch of people, so everybody knew who Phil Vassar was. But when he embarked on his solo career, Carlene came out, and it's just basically a high-energy, feel-good song, which is what this is about going to a class reunion and reconnecting with the girl you had the hots for, and then they wind up hitting it off and having a good time 20, 30 years later, whatever the reunion is. I don't remember the years on it, but that's a fun song to me, man. Now, he was more popular, obviously, for things like Just Another Day in Paradise and things like that, but yeah, I love Carlene.
Yeah, and Carlene's a better song, man, because anytime Redhead pulls up in a blue sports car, I want to finish hearing the rest of the song.
And I want to check it out.
My next is Islands in the Stream by Dolly Parton and Kenny Rogers. And
yes.
we talked about that one before. That's just a fun song for pretty much anybody. And even people that don't even listen to country music, when that song comes on, they just tend to like it.
Yeah.
You know, it's still played today. Sorry, sweat. But it's still played today, sometimes on regular radio. It's just a classic, you know.
Yeah. Number 6 for me is Kenny Chesney, How Forever Feels. You start off a song, Big Orange Ball floating in the water. It's just everything about talking about Richard Petty, you know, finally gets the diamond ring, just everything about that song. And I'll be the first to say I like Kenny Chesney. But I don't love Kenny Chesney like the Alan Jacksons and the George Straits and those guys, and I don't think he's on that level or ever will be. Some people disagree, and that's fine. The guy's had a huge career, nothing but respect for him. And he wouldn't be in my top 20 favorite artists of all time. He wouldn't even make that. But I'm going to tell you something, though. As far as feel-good songs, Kenny Chesney is probably second to none. He does that as good as anybody does that. You want to feel good, whatever he's singing about, he brings it when it comes to that stuff. And his live shows the same thing. So, and I think this is the one that, Kenny Chesney had 2 or 3 albums, and when How Forever Feels hit, and I think that album on out took him from, I call it taking him from county fairs to big stadium tours, because he blew up after that and never looked back. But, yeah, How Forever Feels, and I'm going to mention Kenny again, because this is what this topic is, and that's what he does.
Yeah, and while we're on that subject, I did want to mention something to you, kind of like you said about how he's not on Alan's level, to you. And I believe as far as traditional sounding country music, he's not, but as far as an entertainer, he is. And I love Alan.
That's a fair argument.
And I like Alan Moore, but I said all that to say that let's just say for whatever reason, Garth missed Entertainer decade of the 90s and they gave it to George, which could definitely happen.
Sure.
And then Garth didn't put nothing out in the early 2000s. Kenny would have got it instead of George.
I can see
that. In other
that.
words, if George was 90s and didn't get 2000s, because every single thing that he did in the early 2000s was just, out there, just great, to me anyway.
I agree with that.
And another thing too, in case people don't know, getting back to Tim McGraw did that song first, and I recommend y'all going to go listen to it if you haven't heard it. And his version's good too.
And I didn't know that till like 2 years ago.
Yeah, I think I found out about it on Prime Country. They actually played his version. I was like, man, that's good stuff.
Yeah, it is. Tim McGraw nailed it too. Agreed.
Yeah. My number 5 is When the Sun Goes Down, by Kenny Chesney. And I'm going to pair that with another song, so I kind of got 11 in there, but there's a reason why.
That's okay.
I'm pairing it with All Summer Long by Kid Rock. Some people would argue that is not a country song. He combined Werewolves of London and Sweet Home Alabama, which are 2 rock songs, and Kid Rock's a rocker. But if you can include When the Sun Goes Down, he put Uncle Kracker in it. I think that When the Sun Goes Down kind of can slide in there too. And I'm the type of person, everyone's different. There's some people that don't belong to mash up with country music. It happens a lot of times when it shouldn't. But for some reason, some people make it work, like Uncle Kracker, Kid Rock, Morgan Wallen. In my opinion, they can dip into other stuff and it makes it work. And I like Uncle Kracker and I like Kid Rock, and I actually discovered Uncle Kracker through Kid Rock long before he was with Kenny Chesney. And I was surprised as to how well they made it work together. And times that I've heard them collaborate together on live stuff that wasn't When the Sun Goes Down, it was still good.
Yeah.
So, but the first memory I have of that song, and the reason why I know it's a feel-good song to me, is because when I was in high school, I talked about it before, I had an 84 Silverado in my granddad's truck, and I was on Morris Brown Road in Janesville, coming around a curve by the sawmill, and that song came on. I heard it for the first time, and it sounded good automatically, but when I caught Uncle Kracker's voice, I was like, this is insane. I was like, this is really a good song. So the first time I heard it, I loved it.
Yeah.
And it was a nice day like today, and it was just I was riding around just burning fuel, and it is the ultimate feel-good song to me. So, including All Summer Long too. If you watch that video with the boat and the lake and all that stuff, But anyway, that's what I got for number 5. I kind of paired them two up.
It makes sense. Number 5 for me is also Kenny Chesney. I got Fall in Love.
I had that on my first list.
Did you?
Yeah.
Just the speed of that song, man, and his voice in that song. I think that's one of his best songs vocally. And the speed of that song. And I guess it's a feel-good song too, because I remember a certain year in high school, and I went to GCA. Our rival was Trinity. This girl came over from Trinity to GCA, started coming to GCA, and anyway, my senior year of high school, we started dating. And I always think of her, and we would head to the beach, and this song this song probably came on one time when we went to the beach, but for some reason it resonates with me. But yeah, I think about her a little bit when that song comes on, and a lot of other things too, but it always takes me back to that time. The girl that went to Trinity and GCA. And anyway, we were going to the beach and that song was on. For some reason, you know, songs take you back and stuff like that. I probably heard this and I could probably sit here for 20 minutes and think of 20 memories with that song because it was big. But that one trip to the beach always stands out in my mind.
Yeah, I can see that. And two other points I like to make about that song is, you know, everybody thinks Kenny Chesney, the Caribbean and boats and all this stuff. That was a feel-good song before he was doing that. When he was still the mountain kid, you know.
Yeah.
And the other point I was going to make is my buddies and his wife, well, she's my friend too, but they actually had that song playing during their wedding, like when the bride and groom like leave out the alley.
That's perfect.
I thought that was so cool.
Yeah, that's perfect.
Know. So that's a shout out to Philip and Jenna if y'all.
Because when you're heading out to the honeymoon, you want something fast, and that's perfect. Because wherever they were going, if it was a 4-hour trip, they probably got there in 30 minutes with that song playing. That song's fast.
You ain't lying.
I like fast songs.
Yeah. Well, he always drove slow, so. My number 4 is "Everybody Oughta" by Hayley Williams.
I'll pay you back if you don't like it.
Yeah, it is a awesome, fun song, man. I mean, she just states like the simplest things, and she just mentions things that everybody should do at least once, and it's just fun country stuff, you know. And I actually seen one interview where some guy was saying like the stuff that she mentioned is kind of cliche, like almost like equivalent to the guy singing about the dirt roads and tailgates, and I disagree 100%.
I disagree
If
too.
you listen to that song and like really take in the lyrics, that's completely false. But anyway.
And there's absolutely no doubt that she does all that stuff. It's not a song that somebody gave her because it'll be a hit.
Yep.
She does that stuff.
Oh yeah, and I believe Tim's a real country boy, but Hayley made her version of Where the Green Grass Grows more believable than Tim's.
Yeah.
So, but anyway.
Number 4 for me is another debut single in the early 90s, Red Akins. Well, actually, it's mid-90s. Red Akins, What They're Talking About. Remember we were talking about Red Akins a couple weeks ago, and we were trying to think of the name of that first song. That was it. This Must Be What They're Talking About. Stole the keys to my daddy's ride, and I took my baby for a midnight ride. They got you right there because, you know, that's...
Our hearts were racing out as we had that 109.
Yeah.
I had that on my first one. Along
I always
with,
feel good when I hear that.
Okay, with that album, there's that's number 2, and then number 3 on the album. I had both of them up there. The one about
1,000 Memories is the name of the album.
Anyway,
I Break for Brunettes is on it.
Yeah, it was one.
She Said Yes.
The old dirt road down 33.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
Basically, you could take that first Red Akins album and just, it's one story.
I
just
agree.
one long story with certain scenes. The whole thing's great.
It's so good.
And it told you right then. That's another guy that never changed, man. From get go, when Red Akins' 1,000 Memories, he never changed.
Yep.
He never changed.
And I love that, man.
Me too.
And like, to me, in my opinion, Riley Green, Red Akins write songs about my life. Where some of them write good country songs, I just can't relate. I don't ride bulls. I don't party all the time.
Yeah.
But the whole stuff that, and I'm not heartbroken all the time, but the stuff that Red Akins and Riley Green sing about, I live it.
Yeah.
And basically whatever they're saying is true for me.
Yeah.
So, my number 3 is Jive by Alan Jackson. And going right back to that same 84 Chevrolet, I told this story before. The first time that I ever heard that song was also the very first time that I ever drove on the road by myself. And we had just took, we actually just took stuff to the dump, man. So, like trash, just like he was saying in that song. And so that will always be a memory of mine. And the song is just a, I guess if you've never drove before, it's a good feeling song. But if you know what it's like to have that first opportunity to, you know, to drive with your dad or take your kids on a drive like he mentions at the end, that's just such a fun song. You know.
And now you having a son, you can kind of see yourself there.
Yep.
In 13, 14 years,
Yeah.
whatever.
So.
Number 3 for me, I don't know what it is about debut singles, but for some reason people hit it off a huge. It come out the gate strong. I got "What's It to You" by Clay Walker. I know what love is. What's it to you? Nothing really big to say about that one. It's just I love the kind of hard guitar and a guy in a cowboy hat and Stetson. That kind of look. Clay Walker's got that George Strait look to him, but it still was rocking to a degree too. It was a perfect mix, I think, for what he was doing. And I like that pretty much everything Clay Walker's done. But "What's It to You," I was in high school when that one came out too, man. It was just, I was a Clay Walker fan from that first hook of that first song.
Yeah, you know, and that's, we talked about this before, but that's something that kind of that I miss out a little bit because of age differences. Like with some of the songs you mentioned were in high school, it's easier for you to remember ones in high school than me to remember that same song when I was like 6.
Sure.
You know, does that
Sure.
make sense?
Yeah.
So, because I fall into that a lot of these times when you say it's a debut single.
Because he's 16 and I'm 26.
Well, I don't know
Yeah.
what
Yeah.
people's like breakout hits were. You know?
Yeah, right. Right.
So it's probably, I guess, Austin by Blake Shelton. I remember that automatically because I was like 13 when that came out.
Right.
And I was a little bit more older. But my number 2 is Living on Love by Alan Jackson. That to me is that whole song. It reminds me a lot of how my grandparents lived their life and how I strive to live mine with my wife as well.
Good goals.
Yeah, and you know, he don't mention in the song that like they never had differences and stuff. He just kind of mentions that, you know, at the end of the day, they're living on love and buying on time, and you know, and I think it's good to have nice things and all, but at the end of the day, if you you know, if you ain't really showing love, then it's kind of missing the point.
Right.
And I think that's a good goal that everyone should live off of, is the Living on Love song, period. And that's where you listen to country music or not. And Alan Jackson has a tendency of singing songs like that and writing them about his parents or whatever,
Yeah.
you know. Because as far as I know, that song was written about his parents. I think it did start of the video, which I know Small Town Southern Man was. But I think at the start of that video, it's showing like them when they were younger, his parents' pictures and stuff. But yeah, to me, the Living on Love song is definitely a feel-good song.
Number 2 for me, I got High Cotton by Alabama. That to me just reminds me of really 3 things. I mean, as you know, we grew up in the country, and a lot of y'all that listen to this did too. And you can't stress that stuff enough. We're not giving you the stereotypes everybody else did. We're just telling you about life. But it reminds me, High Cotton reminds me of cutting grass in Stokes growing up. It reminds me of my grandparents who lived next door, and it reminds me of my parents. Just everything about being a kid growing up, because I was young when that song was out. But I mean, we were walking in High Cotton, Old Times There, Not Forgotten, just classic Alabama, classic country music, and just takes me back.
Yeah, and you know, you said a mouthful right at the end, because I feel like a lot of the people at this stage that watch our podcast know us personally.
Yeah.
But, you know, we do this because we have fun. Our time is limited, so we don't have time to make stuff up. I'm not a bull rider, but I am a country boy. I can tell you about, you know, the Red Akins and the Riley Green music.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, but I do enjoy the, I can't say I live the cowboy life, but I
Right.
enjoy the songs, you
Yeah.
know. And to me, I think they call it the genres country western. I consider them 2 different styles of music.
I think so.
I mean, you know, like
It's under the same umbrella, but
yeah,
you could divide them.
like Chris Ledoux in Alabama sing 2 totally different things.
Right.
But they both consider
Yeah.
the same genre. So
Now, Garth Brooks kind of goes into both a little bit. He kind
Yeah.
of flirts back and forth. He kind of rides the line. But,
oh yeah,
but yeah, I know what you're saying, though.
yeah. My number 1 is All My Rowdy Friends Are Coming Over Tonight by Hank Jr. That is my favorite feel-good song, and it's such my feel-good song that this morning, I'm weird. We come up with these lists, and if I have time, I'll make a playlist of it on my phone and listen to it like the day of the podcast. So this morning, I started out when I left my house listening to the other ones. I got the Hank Jr. Around JJ's on 903, and I listened to that
If
same...
you know, you know.
Yeah, the realest know. But I was at 903 JJ's when that came on. That song ain't like 2.5 minutes. I listened to it all the way till I got to work. It was cranked up. When I came around the traffic circle, whoever was at that stop, they had to hear it. And then I get into work, and when the other people came into my office, they had to hear it. So it's my feel-good song. It's the ultimate
Well,
feel-good
hopefully
song.
everybody felt good.
They should.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, Keith came in. That's my buddy Keith. Shout out to Keith. I know he's watching.
What's up, Keith?
He's in his shop right now. Got it on the 65 inch. He's proud of it. He'll tell you
No,
about it.
Keith's got it on 100 inch.
He would tell you about that TV. He's got 2 of them in there, County Line Bar and Grill. But he's in there watching us right now, and he knows that when he comes in and that song's playing, it's gonna be a good day for everyone. So.
What a great shopmate / roommate.
Oh yeah, yeah. Can't go wrong with that.
Number 1 for me is Daryl Worley, Good Day to Run. again, it puts me in the mood for Nashville, which we're both going. I'm headed to Nashville Saturday. He's headed to Nashville Sunday.
Obviously, hard rain don't last because it rained all week. And stopped for
Exactly.
today.
Exactly. And it don't last. It stopped. That's right. And it's definitely going to stop for Nashville. And Brooks Sutton, I know, is listening to this thing out there, and he's also going to be in Nashville. But Good Day to Run by Daryl Worley is just, if I could think of one song to just crank up and ride down the road and just get me excited, even on a bad day, it's Good Day to Run with Daryl Worley.
Oh, yeah.
So.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, so anyway, we enjoyed it. This podcast ended up being funnier than I thought it would.
It did. Get those questions in, too, by, is it June 4th?
Yeah, June the 4th, because we need, we definitely want to do the rapid fire questions. I think it's going to be fun. It's going to be interesting. We've already got a pile of them so far, so if y'all can keep them coming in, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. I have ran into some people that weren't real familiar with YouTube itself, but love the podcast, and they asked me like, hey, can you text me when y'all post another one? I'm like, oh, well, if you subscribe, then it automatically lets you know.
You'll always see it.
Yeah, and they weren't even familiar with that. So if you do want to see them and haven't subscribed yet, if you like, share, and subscribe, we appreciate that.
We do.
Yeah, and until then, we'll see you next time.